Good morning, everyone, and you're very welcome to this webinar on the Big Red Cloud Purchase Importer. My name is Padraig Nolan. I'm CTO at Big Red Cloud, and I'm delighted to be joining you this morning from Stalbridge in County Kildare is my current location. So delighted to be presenting this session on the Purchase Importer. If you're at the last one, this is more of a deep dive. It's kind of how to set it up. We'll go through it from the beginning. We'll cover some of the overall features and benefits as well, but we will do a deeper dive into setting up how to use it, and we'll have a bit more of a detailed run through it. Okay, so let's talk about the agenda today. So we'll start with an overview of the Purchase Importer, and then we'll look at configuring Bigger Cloud for optimal Purchase Importer use. So before we put any documents into it, there's some settings that we need to do in Bigger Cloud, and they're mostly the supplier setup and the email address setup. And then we'll have a detailed dive through the Purchase Importer, including the following things. So accessing the Purchase Importer feature, how you get it, the user interface overview, filtering, sorting. You can actually change how it looks based on your preferences. We'll look at uploading and processing invoices directly using email and then using the Snap and Send feature also. We'll look at managing mixed VAT rates and analysis categories. We'll look at duplicate detection because you want to make sure you don't have duplicates going into your system. We'll look at processing documents and sending them to our backend engine to see can it detect the data from it. And then we'll look at creating transactions in Bigger Cloud. And having done so, we'll look at drilling down to those transactions from the drilling down to the underlying document from those transactions. And finally, we'll look at deleting and downloading the documents that you have created using the Purchase Importer. Slide here. Just before we get into the webinar proper, we'll just talk about some webinar logistics. Before you ask, yes, we will be doing a recording of this. It might just take a little bit of time afterwards to clean it up, but we'll have it certainly within a day or two, and it'll be published on our website. You will get an email, and those who have registered will also get an email. So if any of your colleagues have registered and have missed it for whatever reason, you can just let them know that they will receive a link to the recording once it's available. We will publish the recording. If you do want to ask questions during the session, I'm joined by my colleague David Costello from our support team this morning. David's very welcome on the call as well, and he'll be standing by to answer any questions. If you could, please use the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen in Zoom. I'm sure you're all used to use Zoom at this stage, but aren't use the Q&A rather than the chat feature if possible. It just allows us to be a little bit more organized when we go to the questions. If there's any kind of one-off questions just relevant to yourself, David will answer them during the session. But then any ones that are of general interest, I'll do a bunch of those at the end of the webinar as well. So please feel free to put any questions as you go through the webinar. But hopefully I will cover quite a lot as we go through the webinar. And answer questions where David has answered questions that's of general interest. They will be available for everyone to view. So that's just important to see as well. Sorry, backwards. My slide is jumping all over the place. Apologies about that. I think I just went on the keyboard. Here we go. Most of this session will be practical. I will be giving a hands-on demo and information on how to use and set up the Purchase Importer. We will show the Snap and Send feature using video. You may have seen it before. It just makes it easier rather than trying to connect phones and stuff for a live demo. We'll be recording, but everybody else will be live. So you'll do that. But before we get into all of that, so we're going to talk about what the feature set within the Purchase Importer is and why you might want to use it, and then we'll get into the hands-on piece. So the Purchase Importer is it's a Purchase Importer. We call it an inbox directly in the application. So it's like an inbox of documents, and it's accessible from the purchase book. It has a lot of user filtering and display options. You can kind of filter how you like. Only show certain invoices in the inbox. We'll see it in practice, so it'll make more sense. You can also drill down from the purchase book entry to the underlying purchase document. That's really important. So if you receive an invoice from a supplier, they send it into you, you post it, you process it through the Purchase Importer, you'll be able to go back to that very same PDF as you're going through your ledgers in Bigger Cloud. So the integration here is very tight. You have three channels to upload invoices, and you can directly upload them in the user interface. You can send it to a dedicated email, and part of today's session, I will show you how that email address is set up and configured. And then finally, we have the new Snap and Send feature using the mobile app, where you can just take a picture of an invoice and upload it to the purchase importer system. Once data has been uploaded, once your documents, your purchase invoices have been uploaded, there's an automatic supplier matching based on that number, name, and other details. And that's the reason why setting up is important. Don't just run into this module and just start uploading things. Make sure your setup of your suppliers in particular is optimal to make sure you get a good success in terms of recognition of invoices as they are uploaded to the platform. You have supplier defaults, so you have analysis category, nominal codes, VAT types, which means then that for the most common use cases per supplier, the system knows exactly how to code it for you. We also support splitting of combined PDF files. Maybe you've got a sheet feed scanner like we have, which is you put 30 invoices onto a sheet feed scanner, scan it through, you get one 30-page or maybe 40-page document if there's some multiple page invoices in there. And we do support that process as well, and that'll be shown during the course of the demonstration and the training. And we also do duplicate detection. So that means that if you accidentally upload an invoice a second time, that's one you've already done. We're going to flag it as a duplicate, so you can decide whether it is a duplicate or not, and then deal with it appropriately and accordingly. And we also support user-defined fields. So some of you may have additional fields that you add to the purchase book. If you have those fields, they're fully supported through the purchase importer. So let's talk about why you might want to use. What benefits does the purchase importer give you? Well, the biggest one really is saving time and effort as you go about your daily business, processing transactions through Bigger Cloud and through your accounting systems. So it automates invoice processing and lets you upload them directly via email, and you can have a flow around that. In other words, you might automatically forward all invoices from certain suppliers to this email inbox. Maybe some other suppliers where you want to double check them, you have maybe you want to triage those into a separate folder. So it allows you to build your own workflows around it. And then the Snap and Send gives you an option for instant submission. You have the invoice in front of you, you're out and about, and you can just take it and do that straight away. The other kind of primary theme we have here is the reduction in errors. Because the system is reading the data from the invoice, there's less likelihood that you have human error, as in flipping a 9 and a 3 or a 3 and 9, whatever. So that reduces that. The duplicate detection is part of that story. So it stops you making the mistake of putting up an invoice yourself. And it supports splitting combined PDF files accurately. It knows if you have a 10-page PDF and pages 2 and 3 are a 1-page or a 2-page invoice, it'll let you do that and process them accurately. And overall, it really helps you stay organized. So you can actually drill down, as I mentioned just a while ago, you can drill down from the purchase invoice record in Bigger Cloud directly to the PDF that underlies it. So if a supplier is ringing for payment or with a query, you have the information in front of you straight away. The customizable inbox means you can have just the information you need, remove the columns you don't need, add the ones you do, have the filters you want. So you can really have your own customized view within the application. I will be showing that very shortly. And very easy document management, retrieval and management. So, your files, your underlying PDF files are stored within the system in a very easy and easy to manage manner. And finally, the Snap and Send feature makes it very flexible and mobile. You can be out and about doing the invoices, getting the invoices from suppliers, maybe receipts, diesel receipts, or anything that's vatable in particular, because you want to make sure you claim the VAT on all those little invoices that you get as you're out and about. So that's a great way to do it rather than putting it in the back of the pocket and then you lose it at some stage. So let's jump into the training session, and I have my agenda here in front of me. So let's go in and start looking at the Bigger Cloud purchase importer. So let me change screens here. So let me share a different screen. And here we are in Big Red Cloud. So let me start by going into my setup of my suppliers. So here we have our normal supplier ledger. Mostly probably are Bigger Cloud users, but if you're not Bigger Cloud users, Bigger Cloud is a simple and easy to use accounting platform, and here's where you maintain your suppliers. Today we is focused just on the purchase importer aspect. So let me go into Keyway is one of the suppliers we have with us today, and let me just go in and have a look at what's in this ledger here. So the key thing to do with the supplier setup is make sure, number one, that the supplier name is entered correctly. If the supplier name is the exact same as it is on the invoice, it will match based on the name if it doesn't already match on the VAT number. The best bet you have for a match is actually the VAT number, because that's kind of a unique thing. So make sure you have a VAT number and your supplier name correctly set. So they're the first two things to note. So make your supplier, and you see here on the invoice, with Keyway, they have it's Keyway managing all of the work. So try and make it the same if possible. But in any event, once you have the VAT number configured and set up, that will, in most cases, ensure that it's matched to the correct supplier record. This is particularly important if you add new suppliers to the system. When you add a new supplier, get into the habit of making sure the setup here is correct. The other setups here you should do is the VAT type. Always make sure VAT type. In most cases, it'll be domestic for domestic suppliers. And then you have your purchase importer settings down here. And these are essentially the default analysis category and nominal code. Okay, so when you select that, it will pick the default code. So if I change this here to advertising, it'll change it to the default nominal code. But I can change on a one-off basis to a different nominal code if I need to. So you have flexibility there to be able to change the default nominal code. And you can also define whether the VAT on the supplier by default is either resale or non-resale. Okay, and I just answered a question that came up at the last webinar. Somebody asked, what if it's different? This really is an initial default. It'll default to these, but we'll see in the purchase importer inbox, you will be able to go in and make changes to these. If this is generally an equipment supplier, and on a once-off basis you bought something different that needs a different nominal code, you can always change that in two places. Firstly, in the purchase importer inbox as you're importing the invoice, and secondly, as with any transaction in Bigger Cloud, you can change it directly within the purchase transaction entry. So these just provide initial seeding defaults if you want to think of them like that. So that's the supplier setup. Make your changes, make sure you hit save, and then that's that supplier saved. Carla Brewing is the other supplier we'll be using today. And you see we have their VAT number set up here. We have their name set up here as well. And we have their set up here to be a default category of drink. And in this case, it's a resale one. So you'll see how this has impact when we actually go and upload our first invoices today in the live demo. Okay, I mentioned in the features overview that we have 3 channels. We've got the ability to upload it through the UI, which we'll look at in a moment. You can also upload it to a dedicated email address. And the third one is a snap and send. But for now, let's look at how we set up the dedicated email address. Excuse me. So within the setup menu, you've got this purchase importer setting here. And when you go into that, you have the ability here to add an email address. I have another for this account already, so it's here available. So let's just call this demo 0307225. Just give it that name, right? If it's already been taken up, it'll tell you that it's already in use. So that's why I don't use too generic a name. Normally use your own name or your own company name would be best to use there. And the suffix here of the email address is fixed. It is going to our server, so it's at pi.biggercloud.com. What that will do is it'll give you a way to email invoices to the purchase importer inbox. There's a number of choices there. You can either manually forward all the invoices, I mentioned this earlier on, yourself, that you get from your suppliers. You can, if you wish, give this email address to your suppliers. However, bear in mind your suppliers may send other information to this inbox. They may send you statements. They may send you general communication about pricing. So it's best to have this dedicated only for invoices. But you can also, in most email systems, whether you be using Microsoft Outlook or Gmail or similar systems, you can configure rules to say that if it comes from supplier A, automatically forward emails with attachments to this to this email address. So you can actually have a little bit of a workflow working around this. I'm going to just use this one here, and then that's configured in the system. Just give me a final warning here. Do I want to use this? I can hit yes. I can go back into this, set up purchase importer. I can actually remove this. If I made a mistake here, I can go in and remove it. But I would recommend that once you set it up, to begin with, if you've given it to people, don't be going in and changing it. So, yeah. So we're now set up to use the purchase importer. So let's go in and have a look at the purchase importer itself. So to access it, we go to our purchase book. So it's the natural place you'll be operating. You'll be in the purchase book. I'm here in the year. Just to note here, I'm going to June. This is actually 2020 because these are the sample data I have. But it obviously works based on date. So what we have here is we know transaction, and during the demo, we'll get some transactions into June. At the bottom of the page, you'll see the purchase importer. Okay. You'll see the purchase importer if you already have the module. If you haven't purchased it, you may not have it. So that's something to speak about us afterwards. But once the module is within your subscription, you'll see that button there on the bottom. So let's click on the purchase importer and we talk about then the various UI elements. So here is the purchase importer inbox. Okay, what you're seeing here is a whole load of invoices. So these are all PDFs or JPEGs or different kinds of files. Okay, so these are not purchase transactions. These are not accounting transactions. This essentially is a way where documents can be uploaded to the system. So they're essentially, mostly in my case, they're PDFs. I'm not sure if there are any JPEGs there, but it can be JPEGs as well. We'll see in a minute how we can actually view them, but and what you have here is you have a whole lot of information about the PDFs. So, for example, these are ones that were obviously already processed or detected for what the entries were. We can get the date that they were created in Bigger Cloud. So some have been created as transactions. You'll see you have a status over here of of transaction created. Now you see the screen's quite busy at the moment. There's lots of width in this, lots of columns. But you can customize the column widths to make this a kind of a narrower view. So let's look at how we do this. As I scroll across, I see things here, for example, the breakdown into VAT and so on. I may not want to see those all the time. They created, so I can actually do a very simple view by going in here to my first button to look at is my columns. So in the top left here, you've got a columns button. What that lets you do is select which columns should be visible. Now, this is specific to you, the user, to this company. So if you go in here and log out and log back in tomorrow, your settings that you put in here are saved. So the next time you come back, your particular settings will be saved. If somebody else is using the purchase importer inbox, they can have their own filters here. So it's very flexible in terms of how you use it. You see here, well, we already have some turned off. If I wanted a very simple view, I could just say hide all, that turns them all off, and then go through and pick the ones I want. I want the file name, the date uploaded, the method, its current status, and maybe the date it was created, and so on. What you have now is a very simplified view. All those other columns are hidden, and I have a simplified view. If I'm maybe managers reviewing this at summary level, this might be the view I want. If I'm the bookkeeper actually entering the data, I may very well want more columns than this. Go back to this, because for the demo, I'll be showing a lot of these, so let me just turn them all back on again. Show all, we're back to showing them all again. So the other thing you can do with columns is you can rearrange them. So for example, if I want the date created to be more over here, I can click and drag it to the left, put it there, and now it's over there. I can drag it further, I can drag this one over here. So these are fully customizable. Again, this is part of the saved view. It gets saved as part of this. The other thing I can actually do with this, and I have it done with some of the columns here, I have, it's called pinning it. So it's locking, it's called locking. So at the minute, you'll see here date uploaded and upload method have kind of a gray color in them because they're locked. If I wanted for example, the account code to be here all the time, I can click on the three little dots here. You see there's a little sub menu here when you click on the account column. When you click into that, I can click on lock. So what that does, it moves immediately over to here. And as I scroll right, you see that remains in place. So it's locked to the left-hand side. You'll be familiar with a similar concept in spreadsheets like Excel, Google Sheets, and so on that has a similar kind of freeze. I think they call it freeze pins or freeze columns option. So that's the column layouts. So that's how we manage the width of the screen that we're looking at. How can we manage the height of it? And there's a lot of records here, up and down. So there's lots of different statuses here. Let me unlock the account one there. We don't want that there. I can unlock it as well to move it back. So for example, I have ones here that are transaction created, that are processed. We'll go through these statuses. We'll start with a new one in a moment, but I can actually say, so I can actually use filters. So on the top left, next to columns, you have the next I'm going to look at, which is filters. What filters allow you to do is to shorten the height by saying, I only want records that fulfill a certain criteria. So for example, if I only want processed ones, so I want to say the status processed. And it immediately puts in that filter. So immediately the height of my report, I only want ones that are processed or in a certain state. So, or let's say I only want ones uploaded today or a certain date. I can do that as well. So now I have the ability to shorten the height. And I can add filters here. I can have multiple filters here. So I can add a second filter and do another filter. So it's very, very flexible. Or I can go and remove all and I'm back to showing all records again. But this is something you can have, that you only want to say ones that are processed or that have been uploaded. So all you're doing is you're uploading them and then process them afterwards. You can decide which ones you want. So let me go ahead here and look at the data uploaded. We'll sort by that. Let me go and upload some documents. So we'll upload using the Upload Documents button. So, sorry, let me get that again. So down here in the bottom left, you have an Upload Documents button. And this is one of the 3 routes we have for putting information into the system. So click on Upload Documents. And we have 3 invoices here. So I'm going to take these 3 invoices, click on Open, and that will upload them then to the system. See, we're sorted by what date uploaded. So there we are, 3 invoices, and they've all been uploaded there, okay? So actually what I might do is filter by uploaded date. So let's put on a filter to make this let's say 0307, okay? So I'm just looking at these, just make the demo a bit easier to follow as I'm doing this, okay? Now, when I've uploaded them, nothing is filled in here in terms of the data from them. All we've done is upload it to the platform and it's accepted them. What the system does do at this point is a duplicate check. So we uploaded it before and we looked at that in a minute, it will check them. But other than that, no processing actually takes place. And you will see here, the upload method here is down as manual, and there's a manual uploaded. That might say the mobile app, or would indicate if it was emailed. If it was emailed, it'll have a subject, and the subject and email address is over here as well. A prime email address, an email subject, and so on. So that's all there if you use the email option. The first thing I do here is I can actually view them by clicking on the little highlighted file name. It gives me a full drill down and around the invoice. So I can drill around. So it's an invoice for last bin collections. Here's the goods, VAT and net. So it's at 13.5%. So it should pick that up when we do it. It's for €102.15, €90 net. There's the invoice number 609059. So I can actually go in here and see. You'll see here, this isn't what I call a native PDF, and it was generated by a system. It's actually been printed and scanned back in as a PDF. I wanted to just show you that to make sure you can see how it works with just scanned documents as opposed to just native PDFs, which are obviously a lot easier for a system to recognize. Similarly with the Carl Brewing one, I can go there to the Carl Brewing one and actually have a look around the invoice and double check it. Okay, I can make sure that I'm happy to go ahead to the next step before I'm going to do anything else. So I can either click them individually, or I can click this button up here to select all of the ones in the current view. And what I can then do is I go to the next step, which is to process documents. Now, what process documents does is it sends them to our backend with an AI engine that looks at these documents and tries to make out who is the supplier. It'll match them to the supplier, hopefully. It'll work out the net, VAT, and gross amount. It'll pull the reference from the file as well. So let me go ahead and do that. And it gives me a warning there, so let me just go ahead and do that. Frank, we'll see that. See what's on the bottom right. It gives you a little spinning styles button there. indicating what's going on there. Okay, so it's processing one of three documents. I'll just wait for that to finish. So that's them done. You see there, they all finished. So you see here, the first thing to know is that it's been matched to suppliers. Okay, the VAT number has been detected off the off each of the invoices. I meant to point out on the first one, actually, the keyway. So you might have noticed that the IE was missing for the VAT rate, but we've injected that into because we know there should be a previous limit. So we fixed that. And then based on the VAT number, we've actually matched it to the supplier code. You can change all these. So I can go in, if somebody was misdetected, you can go in and do that. Okay, it's total VAT and VAT type. It's domestic for all three cases. You see, one is 13.5% not for resale, and then the other two are for resale. So it's respected the settings we've done in the supplier for resale and non-resale. Equipment for the key waste, and the other two were drink for the default category. But again, we can go in here and change these if we need to. I can put in the supplier invoice number, job. These are user-defined fields we have on the system, client reference. So these are all non-standard fields. These are ones that have been added into the system. So that's displaying the support for user-defined fields. Let's put a code in that one so you can see it when we post it. And then there's payment due date if you have that set up in use as well. So there you go. So they're all the items that are there. Okay. So at this stage, it's been detected. It's like a worksheet ready for you to go and work on it. The next step here is to go and create the transaction. Just as a reminder, let me go back to my purchase book here for June in another tab. So here's my June tab. There's no invoices there. And these are all being picked to the June date. Now, it is doing that based on the transaction date, okay? But let's say an invoice is late, you can always go in and pick a new period. If the period is locked, for example, for, if you've done a VAT return, if you're on VAT and cash receipts, you've done a VAT return for June, and it'll tell you here that actually it's got an error in because the period is locked. Let me go ahead and create transactions. Sorry, I should just say before the button down here is create transactions. What it's going to do is take the information let's go the transactions in Bigger. I'm not sure what that message was about. Okay, so let me go ahead and create transactions. So go through the colors in blue as well. Okay, and what it's telling you is all three were successful. So it tells you 3 purchase entries totaling 1,264.26 were created. Okay, so now see that these now change to transaction created. Okay, so go back here to my other tab just to make it a bit easier. Click on that tab to refresh it. We now have 3 purchase invoices that were created by this process. If I hit view on that, there's a purchase invoice for O'Hara's Brewing, and I can actually go from here and view document. So it goes right back to the source document directly here from the purchase invoice. So that's very useful. Similarly, I can do it here from Galway Craft Beers, view, and view the document as well. So full visibility of the imported invoice, data detected from it, and then being drilled down to from the transaction screen. You can, of course, drill down to it from the supplier lookup as well in the ledger lookup. Key waste, let's go to the key waste, the third one, hit ledger here. So there's the invoice we just added. Hitting view here from the ledger, and on the drill down to the purchase transaction, this view document button is here as well. Click view document, and there we go. There's the invoice we've uploaded. Okay. So close out that. Now, in terms of document management, you can actually download documents. So let's say you come back in a year's time, let's say a supplier's looking for a copy of all, or somebody's looking for, the auditor, for example, is looking for a copy of all the invoices for a particular period. So you can use your filters to filter by supplier or by date. And actually what you do is you can actually create a zip file of all of these documents. But if I click on download documents, this button down here towards the bottom right, download documents, will download the highlighted documents. There's downloaded. And there's a zip file with the three files on it. So there's the 3 files in a single zip file. I can then go and send to the auditors or share it in a file in OneDrive, Dropbox, or whatever whatever text you fancy. So that's that. One thing we do here is we do enforce, we do allow deletions, but if you have a transaction created, we do stop you deleting deleting a purchase document where it has been used to create an invoice. So that's just the one restriction we do have. However, let's take this filter off, move the filter, and take one where it has been done. So here's one, for example, a gas bill. What I can do here is I can highlight all these. These are all simply processed. Highlight a batch of these, hit delete. We get a message on deleting 5 purchase documents. Click on yes. And they are now gone from the list. So we now get a shorter list that we can manage. So we can actually do cleanups here as well. Okay, for the next part of the demo, I am going to, let me turn off my camera. I'm going to share the video just using the mobile feature. So let me go ahead to that demo. Just a second. In this demonstration, we're going to look at using the Snap and Send feature in the mobile application to bring these purchase invoices that I've received, physical invoices, into Bigger Cloud. So let me start by opening the purchases book. I'm going to June. These are 3 June invoices, and we've no data in June at the moment. So we could actually start by just manually adding these and going through them one at a time and putting in the information. We're going to use our purchase importer to import them. So I could actually, manually upload them, take a picture, send it up here, and then manually upload them through this process, or maybe scan them if you have a sheet feed scanner and so on. But we're going to use the mobile application to achieve the same thing. So let me just rearrange my screen here and take the mobile screen share over here. So this is my mobile phone at the moment. And you see here in the middle, we have the Bigger Cloud mobile phone application. It's available in the Android and iPhone app stores, and it's free of charge for users. So there's no additional charge for using the app. So let me start by opening the app here. So the first thing it does is brings up a list of customers. I can go through products, reps, and so on. But down here, I have a new feature, which is the Snap and Send feature. And it's just a little logo of a camera. So let me pick up my phone and click that camera icon. And I have a choice of doing the upload from pictures I've already taken or actually taking new pictures. So let me go ahead and do that. So let me just center it over the invoice, take a picture. I'm going to say, okay, and that one I can actually have a further look at it if I want to scroll in, rotate it, and so on. But let me add more. Again, let's say from picture, let me move my page first to my second one. A picture. And here we go, the second one. That one. Hit OK on that as well. Turn the page, and then we'll do the final one here. Add more from picture as well. So let me line that up. And that's good. I can now click next. I can either upload and process, which means it'll send it up to our cloud, but also process it to understand what's on it, or upload only if we want to process at a later stage, or I can cancel the whole operation. So let me go ahead and upload and process. I get a message that it was uploaded successfully. So that's my bit on the phone done. Let me take my phone screen away. And we'll take a look here. We'll just do a quick refresh to see has it arrived here. And here it is. Okay, so if I click into it, I can get a preview of what the invoices look like. So it's split into 3 pages. You can see it there. There are my 3 invoices. I can drill down on these. It's not perfect, but kind of readable. We'll see how that goes. And you'll also see here that we've detected that splitting is required because it's a multi-page document with multiple invoices in it. So I can click this here and hit split documents. I can look at the splitting suggestions here. I can go through the pages. You know, if you had a 2-page invoice here, it should detect it automatically, but you can interact with it as well. But assuming it's okay, I can go ahead and split document here. And you see that it's split into 3 individual documents, and here they are now. I can now individually go into these and again view them, but they're the same 3 pages. Now it's just split into individual documents. Let's go ahead with these 3 and process them. So we'll now go through and individually look at, see, can it detect the supplier details, the net VAT amounts, and so on. So let me go ahead and process documents here. And while that's running, let me look at the supplier setup and look at some settings that support that. So one of them is key waste, for example. If I have a look at the setup here, you'll see that it has the VAT number. It's got the purchase for not for resale set as its type of VAT. We have a default nominal code, so an analysis category. So in other words, we always typically buy equipment from this supplier. If I go to my, for example, Carla Brewing, one of my other invoices, I can go here. I can just look at this setup, and it's going to be coded to drink. It's going to be for resale. I'm a drinks reseller, so that's a resale item, and so on. And there's the VAT number. So the name and the VAT number will be used to try and detect the information from the invoice itself. You see here, this processing is finished in the background. You see it actually has successfully identified the 3 suppliers. There is the 3 dates, and because they're dated in June, excuse me, it now is suggested we put them into the June period. It's putting the information here. This last one was actually 13.5%. So it's gone into that category. The rest are 23%. And you can see over here, it was the upload method was from a split file, and the date uploaded was here. This is the original mobile app upload. So we know we uploaded the original file from a mobile application on the 2nd of April at this time, and then we then split the file from here. So all the information is here as to where this data came from. What we can now do, if we're happy with this, is we can actually go ahead and again, they're all ticked, so I can actually go ahead and create transactions. Click on that. So you see here, we get a very good looking message. 3 purchase entries totaling that amount were created. Click OK on that. So let's go to our purchases book. Back in June. And lo and behold, we have 3 invoices here. Okay, so I can look in here. I can actually view this invoice. So there's all the information put into the correct categories, into the correct analysis category over here. This is my drink for O'Hara's Carla Brewing Company. And from here, I can actually click and view documents. So I can go right down to the individual invoice from the screen here as well. So that's really good if you're going through the accounts. Paying suppliers, you can see not just the total values from the invoice, but actually a scan or a picture of the invoice itself that was taken right from my phone. So I hope that gives you a good overview on the purchase importer using the Snap and Send feature. We think it's really useful. It's really going to help automate your processing of purchase invoices. Thank you. No, apologies. There was some duplication of what I covered in the earlier session there, but hopefully you get a good idea of how you can use the purchase import. And actually, it's no harm to see the second time anyway. Just exit the share there. Okay. Let me go back to live demo mode. Let me share my screen here. Tap the share. I'll go back to sharing. Go to this screen here. We're nearly there, guys, so bear with us. We've only a few little things to cover. So the next thing I want to look at is duplicate detection. So actually, let me put my filter back here for data uploaded, just to make this a little bit more obvious. So let me just refresh the login there, just stop it logging out while we're in the middle of our presentation. Let me put back the filter for These are the three we did earlier. So what happens if I put these three up again? So let me go ahead and upload these three, and we look at the duplicate detection management feature. So I'll upload documents. These are the same three files. Hit open. You see here that they are flagged as potential duplicates. Okay, we're not saying 100%, but we believe that it's duplicates, the same file name, same file size, and so on. So we do a lot of checks to see, is this a duplicate transaction? You can actually still, you can go there and mark it as a duplicate if you want to, or else you can actually just go and delete it. So go ahead and just delete these three. And that'd be the most obvious thing to do here. I'm sorry, by the way, you can go in here, go in and view them, compared to, oh yeah, that looks like the same one. This is the one with the transaction created. Yeah, look, there's the 953 on that one. So these are clearly duplicates. So that's that duplicate detection. In fact, let me keep one of them here. Let me keep key waste here for the next demo. Let me delete these two. Delete. You go ahead and process it anyway. But you've been warned that it might be a duplicate. Somebody's asking that they're looking on the phone at the webinar, but I can't make any change at the moment. But if you wanted to look at it afterwards on the recorded webinar, that'll probably do it. So, David, thanks for that question just coming in there. Just thought I'd say it as we're waiting for processing there. So that's been processed there, right? So let's look at the ability to split. Okay, so let's say we have key waste, but they've split this invoice. What you actually do here is you can select you can select a different account if you want to, or you can actually do the choose multiple option up here. So there's a little button up here that says choose multiple analysis categories. If I click on that, I then get a grid. Okay, it's like your grid that you get in the purchase invoice, and I can say actually, well, it's equipment. What's our net here? So it's 90, 80 here. And let's say it's phone and mobile for whatever reason they've given us a phone SIM card. Just by the way, what I did there, I put 80 in here, right? I could type in 10 in there, right? Or I could just double click. That's a quick tip for you. It works throughout all of Bigger Cloud. If you double click, it'll put in the remaining value to be allocated. So there's 10 left there. So rather than typing in 10, and fine for €10, it's easy, but all of the cents or whatever left, it's just a very quick way of doing that. Hit save. What you now see is that now nominal is not showing the UI. It's saying that there's multiple there, and you can actually click and drill down to see the multiple analysis. Similarly, on the VAT, you can actually go in and break the VAT down in a similar way as well. I won't go through it for the VAT, but it's a similar kind of thing. Okay, so that's doing it to multiple analysis categories. So I won't go ahead and process that. Mix fat rates, mix analysis categories. Okay, so I think that's the demo done. Okay, so let me go to Q&A and see if there's any questions left. So if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A as opposed to the chat if possible, please. I will check the chat in a minute though as well. Let me just make sure I've covered all my list. Yes, okay, that's the overview of the purchase importer. Let me go to Q&A. I'll keep this screen open in case anybody wants to see anything. So let me go to Q&A. Okay, so yeah, we have a few questions here that are open. Okay, so they're open because they might be of general interest to people. So the first one is from Alison O'Dowd. And Alison asks, is there an option to view the document side by side after step 2 process document, but before the creating the transaction to ensure it's being allocated correctly? For example, if there's a change in nominal codes compared to user coding. I think kind of more or less shown it there, Alison. You can actually, it's done here. You can look at the invoice here. And then on the right, scroll to the right. So you're looking at it here, maybe, if that's what you mean. And then I'm scrolling right here as well. And actually, while I'm looking at it here, I can go in here and say, actually, this should actually just be stationary. It's now telling me I'm gonna basically delete the previous breakdown. Hit yes, and I'm doing that side by side. So hopefully that answers that for you, Alison. Donna Byrne asks, will the invoice image remain in the software even after the transaction is processed? For example, we'll go back to January, view the image of the invoice at any time. Yes, absolutely. If I go back on, if I remove my filter here, we have in here, and so let me scroll back here. So these ones are ones I created. For example, in fact, last year, August 24, there's Galway. Sorry, I know the dates are all repeated here. Actually, it's demo data, but you know what I mean. You can go back to previous months and actually at any stage do that, and you can do that included in your lookup in your ledger, supplier ledger, and that would include true year end. So if I had an invoice in this from 4 years ago and I hit this view, when you click on this button here, yes, it will be there for as long as you have that invoice in your history. So yes is the answer to that. So that's done. Sorry, I'm going to say answer live done. Sorry, okay. That one done. Vanessa Hardy asked, but what about different VAT rates and also new bottle return costs? Does Pipe pick them up? Yeah, sorry, it does. I did a split VAT just manually there, but if there's a split VAT on an invoice, it will pick them up. I am aware of an issue with the way some of the deposit return invoices are showing. That's something we're looking at the moment. But you can always manually go in, as I showed there, and actually fix it here before you actually go and post it. But for a standard split VAT invoice, it will bring it in here to begin with. If it doesn't, just contact our support team. We're improving the algorithm behind this all the time, and it's more than pretty good. It's very good at doing that analysis. Okay, make that it's done. So Martin Long asks, our documents come in via email automation in the upload docs? Yes, they do, Martin. Yeah, they show up here, and it'll just say email here. They'll show up here in the same way. Okay. Done. Sorry, just marking them done here as I get through them. Thanks all for the questions, guys. It's great to get questions. We're not just sitting there waiting on. Jenny Farla is asking, hi, Porrick, if you process an invoice and create the purchase transaction and discover you need to remove it, you just create a manual credit note in order to remove it. You can do that. That is one option. You can always change. So, sorry, one thing I should have said maybe is the transactions that are created here from the purchase importer are like any other transaction in Bigger Cloud. You can change and delete them. Let's say the VAT breakdown you discovered after you processed them was wrong. It was actually 0%. And recode it, hit save. So you can change it afterwards. Okay, so that lets you do it. So, or you can actually do a new invoice with a minus amount. So you can actually do it either way. So you can correct it here as well. It'll still have the drill down. I've changed it so that it'll still have the drill down to the underlying. Sorry, that's not that one there. It's June here. Sorry. It'll still have the drill down to the underlying document. But the amounts, if you've changed it, will obviously be different. Thanks for the question, Jenny. Done. Sorry, just a message here from David as well. Just give me a second while I read that. Okay, so yeah, it's a question from Chloe about Turbo. So Turbo is our stock management program. It's not integrated with the purchase importer at the moment, but it is something we're actively looking at, Chloe. At the moment, if you're doing them through Turbo, you don't do them through this. It's one way or the other. You either synchronize them from Turbo, but you don't, then also bring them through here. So that's what it is at the moment. But we are looking at bringing this feature to Turbo in due course as well. Thanks for your question, Chloe. So Colin Horn asks, if a statement gets sent to the email by mistake, can you delete it out of it? Yes, yeah, absolutely. The only thing you can't delete, and I can just, all you do here is go back to the purchase importer inbox. Once it hasn't been transaction created, you can actually delete anything. So let's say these are all statements, because you may get junk to this. If you give this email address to other people, you may get junk into it or stuff that you don't expect. So be careful who you give it to. I can highlight them there, and there's the delete, the delete button here. Sorry, let me just show it to you. It's at the bottom there. Just use the delete button and that takes it out permanently. So if anything gets sent to this inbox and you want to get rid of it, just hit delete. That's that. So that's the answer to that one. That's done. Martin Long asks, can you set up a rule in Outlook that automatically picks up invoices for forwarding to the BRC email address? You can set up rules in Outlook. I'm not sure what you mean automatically picks up invoices. You can say if it has a PDF or it has certain text in it, Martin. What I do is I have specific rules for suppliers, certain suppliers, that forward them on, because I know their emails generally have all the same things, and so I tend to do per supplier. You could get a one that says, forward every email that has a PDF attachment that has a word invoice and subject. You could do something like that in Outlook. But yeah, you can be quite creative in Outlook with it. Or else you can obviously always manually forward. But yeah. Colin also asked about duplicate dockets. Well, the principle of a docket isn't really a different concept here. If the file is the same, it'll pick it up. If it's a docket compared to an invoice, at the moment it won't. It just looks to see as a file, the same file. So not at the moment. It doesn't kind of distinguish between those. So Douglas Tracy asks actually what looks like the beginning of an interesting question, Douglas. I use the Excel interface as well, which would be the Power Accounting interface, which can be quicker for uploading certain invoices. He asked, was there an ability to just add PDF files to purchase entries and not go through the AI process? Is there any plans to follow through adding PDFs to purchase entries as it's a simple change? Sorry, I get what you mean, Douglas. You want to be able to link a purchase invoice PDF when you're looking at the. I'll just show what Douglas is talking about. So when you're in these, in this view here, this is only linking the documents that have been uploaded from the purchase importer. I think I did see that. We do have a wish list backlog that has been captured. I've nothing to share at the moment, Douglas, but that is good feedback for us, and we will take that feedback on board. And thanks for asking it. But I do see what you're doing. So he's using the purchase, so the Power Account they add in Excel for importing the invoices and wants to then link to the PDF afterwards. Okay, thanks for that. How are we doing for time? We'll take a few more questions. We're still kind of not 5 to the hour yet. So Joanna Carberry asks, just asking for pre-recorded webinar about how to start using Bigger Cloud. And Joanna, reach out to the support team. There's a series of how to videos on our support site, and there's some previous webinars we've run. So if you reach out to the support team, they'll help you with the with getting some of those webinars. But we're starting to take that as feedback as well. Jeanette is asking about receipts. If a receipt has VAT in it, you can put it through as a purchase invoice. On the demo with the camera, I used a invoice, but that could be a receipt with VAT in it as well. But we don't have a receipt concept in terms of the accounting in Bigger Cloud. It's a purchase invoice. But a receipt can be a valid purchase invoice for VAT claim purposes if it's got a VAT number on it and if it's got a net VAT and gross on it. Okay. I'm not sure if there's many of these left. Ashton Corcoran asks, asking about not picking up the correct VAT calculation sometimes, manually change it. Is there a way of fixing this? Actually, can you report that to the support team? We have seen instances of that, and we're improving them all the time. So if you have not sent it to the support team, do so now, because we do take that on board. Sorry, there's our chat going on there and our group chat. So I'll let Catherine. I think Catherine's back there. So I'll let Catherine and David deal on that there. Okay. Sorry, Ashton, your comment, Ashton, just reading the end of there specifically was about rounding in particular. So yeah, no, bring that to us, and we are always looking at improving it. We have made a recent rounding change on the sales side to do with kind of issues around rounding in different scenarios. So we are aware of rounding sometimes. So we will look at it. Just somebody is done. We're 2 minutes to the hour. Jeanette's asking, when I go to supplier and set up, I only have a number of days at the bottom. Will I get additional options when I add purchase importer? A great question, Jeanette. The answer is yes. And let me just show people that. So what Jeanette is referring to there is this section down here will not be in your system unless you have the purchase importer module. So go and go and talk to the sales team. If you don't have it at the moment, go and talk to the sales team. They'll explain that. Okay. We've just about 2 minutes to the hour, so I'm not sure if there's any more. Let's see if the team want me to answer any specifically. So, okay, I think there are a number of other questions left, and we are running out of time. So what I might do is we will take any of the questions that we haven't answered so far. We'll get back to you after the webinar. We always get some extra questions, and we'll follow up with answers. But we're gonna call it a day in the webinar. I'd like to thank you all today for your attention and for your time today. I know you all have busy lives, so thanks for that. And let me just drop the last slide, just for good order. The last slide. That was Q&A. What screen am I sharing? I think I'm sharing this. Anyway, just thank you. You have all our social channels. biggercloud.com will get you to all of those. And thank you for your time today. Thanks all. I'm going to do the webinar now. Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.